What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, and old hate. Now, I want to talk about Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. But before I do that, let me address a couple of people. First off, I want y'all to understand this. Well, whether you understand it or not, I really can care less. But let me say this. This is Aries channel. I talk about what I want to talk about on my channel. All right? And ain't nobody going to change that. If you don't like what I talk about, all you got to do is simply skip over my channel. You don't have to watch nothing I put up. Nobody make you. I don't have you by the collar shaking you, making you watch nothing. So when you talk about, oh, all you talk about is this. Well, right. You're usually the type of people that's all you pay attention to when I put videos up. It's certain type of videos, certain names. And then because I'm not saying what you want to hear because you like that particular fighter or fighters, then basically, you know what you overlook? All of y'all little minions that like to, but this and but that, and always coming in my DMs and putting, little comments up about how, but I know for a fact this and this and this. No, y'all like to argue points, but when somebody bring up facts, you're too immature to understand that and too ignorant to understand that. So basically, you look at every channel that keeps bringing up these same particular names or same particular name, but they're saying what you want to hear because they're like, yeah, cheerleading. So, miss me with all of that. I talk about what I want to talk about. Simple. Now, what y'all should do, this is what I suggest for all of y'all little ho-hoppers. You know what y'all are? Y'all just ho-hop from channel to channel and just comment on 20 channels a day. Take your channel, build a brand, build your own content, and then you come up with your own channel and you can talk about what you want. One thing that I would never do is go on somebody else's channel and tell them, you shouldn't talk about this or this. No, nobody cares about what you think. That's not what this is. I'm not a robot, I'm not a child, and I'm not a fucking slave. I talk about what I want to talk about. So you don't like what I talk about, that's all good. But skip that shit. Miss me with this emotional feeling bullshit like you texting your girl because you're not treating me right. Why you doing this to me? That's how y'all sound to me. That's exactly what that feels like to me. So don't come telling me nothing about what you, but you this. You don't have to fucking watch, bro. Simple. You will not be missed. Now, let me go on to this. Danny Garcia versus... Damn, I just drove past a stinking dead skunk. God damn, he smelled. Yeah, all right. Anyway, Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence. Of course, the big question about Errol Spence is he going to be the same? We haven't seen him since the car crash. That was a while. He hasn't been in the ring for a while. And I know everybody's focused on it. They're concerned about, can he take a punch the same way? Is it going to, the surgery he had with, the implants, his teeth and all of that. And, yeah, I mean, that is always, of course, a concern until he gets in the ring. And I think that's going to bring some intrigue to the fight as well because we don't know. Now, before the accident, I would go with Errol Spence. Actually, I would go with Errol Spence over any other welterweight, including Bud Crawford. I think Crawford will probably be the best test because he can box, he can move. I just think he'll outgrit. I think people underestimate Errol Spence. I think with Errol Spence too, because I always say this, he's the welterweight out of all of them. He's the guy that whoever he fights, I'm going with Errol to win. I think Errol make fights harder than they should be by just standing in the pocket trading when they don't have to. That's just how he like to fight. He got that dog in him, that grit, where he doesn't really have to do that as much as he does. And a guy like Terrence Crawford, who fights very smart, can cause you to, he can get in your head, he can outbox you, he can hit you. Punches might not be hurting you, and you thinking, that's nothing. That's love taps, but he's piling up points. So, yeah, it's not like I don't think Terrence Crawford has he just can't beat Errol Spence. No, I would go with Spence because I just, like I said, I think that grit, man, that one thing, that particular thing about him, that I feel like, man, when I'm watching him fight, like, damn, Errol, why don't you jab more, man? Use your movement, put your combinations together. Stop just throwing one big bomb and he throws to the body. He constantly pressures you. He constantly he's like Pac-Man. He just keep coming at you, keep chop it till he gets you. That's what he does. Fighting a guy like Terrence Crawford, who's smart, he might be able to get away from that, but it's not always easy. That's one thing I'll say. A lot of times you watch something and people think, oh man, all you got to do to beat Errol Spence is this and that. But then when you get in there, it's like, nah, it's not that easy. You know, even if you feel like he barely won a fight that you know, he was expected to, like, well, pretty much if you talk about like Sean Porter, you know, Kell Brook, certain fights that he had where he didn't blow the guy out, which is what people was expecting him to do. You can't look at a fighter and then just use your imagination and try to create, you know, a fighter, give him abilities that he don't have, or make him better than what he is, or take away from what he actually has. Errol Spence, man, that constant pressure, the body shots, everything. You know, people said if he didn't drop Sean Porter, he would have lost. Well, he dropped him. So even if you feel that way, it is what it is. I don't think he lost the fight. I think the fight was just a lot closer than people thought it was going to be. But I still felt like Errol Spence was edging him in that fight. And that's just, you know, from what me looking at it. I'm not going to be biased and say, oh, nah, he did this and that if I don't feel like he did. I feel like he was edging him in that fight. You know, not no big, huge margin, but I definitely thought he was edging him. And basically, when he dropped him, well, hey, what do you think they're going to knock? What, the knockdown doesn't count? Of course it counts. So when you say if he didn't get dropped, well, that's the thing. He got dropped. So it is what it is. I think out of all of the welterweights, the top names, I think Sean Porter, Errol Spence, and Keith Thurman are better than Danny Garcia. Now Kell Brook, I don't know. I don't know. As far as Kell Brook, you know, with Terrence Crawford trying to get a fight with him, that's going to be at 147. I thought Kell Brook wanted to stay at 154. So, I mean, I don't know. But looking at who's there right now, I would have to put those guys, I don't know. Kell Brook and Amir Khan, I'd put after those guys, especially Amir Khan, because Amir Khan just can't take a punch. Kell Brook, I don't know how much he has left in the tank. You know, when fighters are not consistent in the ring, they're not fighting often, it's hard to really grade them, you know, because you don't know. And that time off, it hurts you a lot of times more than it helps you. Sometimes it does help, if your body needs the rest. That type of thing, yeah. But I don't know. As far as Danny Garcia and Spence, I'm going with Spence to win. Now, like I said, I don't know if he's the same fighter or can he be better, especially when he's coming back with, you know, just having not even a tune-up fight, but at the same time, understand he's busting his ass in the gym, and the way Errol Spence spar and train, I'm pretty sure he's gonna come in the ring ready. You know, well, I can't say I'm pretty sure. I believe that he will. Put it that way. I believe he will. You know, I'm going with Spence. Danny Garcia, you know, saying Spence can't punch and all that. And listen, all of that talk don't mean anything. It don't matter who's saying what. It doesn't matter what Spence is saying. It doesn't matter what Danny Garcia is saying. What matters is what happens when they get in that ring. Now, if you think that Spence can't punch, that's pure bullshit. That's pure bullshit. And basically, that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a bravado from Danny Garcia trying to talk him down and make it look like, you know, you ain't no tough guy. You ain't all what people saying. That's just talk. We'll see what happens when we get in there. You know, and speaking of that, you know, Danny Garcia has had some performances where he sucked in certain fights. Definitely against low tier fighters. And we know that, you know, you can come in the ring, you're not gonna hit a home run every single time. But I believe Spence is better than Danny Garcia. We're gonna find out, we're gonna see. You know, and the fact that he's not taking a warm-up, that means he's confident, he's ready. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a great fight. You know, I'm looking forward to that fight. And I'm going with Spence. Whether by knockout or decision, you know, we have to see. But I would like to see Spence put his punches together better, man. Like, you know, on defense, he showed against Mikey. You know, when people criticize him, oh, Mikey's a lightweight, you know, coming up and, you know, 140 pound and all this. They, you know, whatever. Like, some people you can't make happy, which I don't think Spence needed to do that. And that was his goal in that fight. I want to show everybody that I can box. I don't have to win just by knockout. And I feel like, man, fight, you'll fight. But I think if Spence would use his jab, stay long, especially when he, I mean, that's what you have your advantages, man, especially when you have a longer reach and height over your opponent. And instead of fighting him in the phone booth, you know, use your advantages. Don't worry about the fans. You know, you're not, look, you fought and you went there against Sean Porter. You had a dog fight with Sean Porter. You know, you did the same thing against Kell Brook. You didn't go in there and dance and move. And when I say, you know, box and move, I don't mean you got to go in there and just dance and move all night and stay away. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, just work off your movement. Don't be so stationary and put your punches together. And even when you stood there and banged with them and gave them what they claimed they wanted, they still had excuses and he's overrated and this and that. So I think if Errol Spence overlooked that and realized, man, I need to just go ahead and win. I can't worry about what these people are saying. He'd be all right, man. So yeah, I'm going with Spence in that fight. Man, that's all I'm going to say on this video. I will catch y'all on the next one.